I did have D&D on. I opened up my phone. I actually forgot why I unlocked my phone. This is the other thing that happens to me is I pulled my phone out and I unlocked it to do something. But I saw I had 6 text messages about scheduling a car drop-off for repair. And I'm like, and that took all my brain processing. And now I have no idea why I pulled my phone out. And that happens to me.
Derailed.
Several times a day. Like, that's probably, that's a weird thing. It's like that.
See, this is why I love the OnePlus phones with the switch, the hardware switch. You just flick the switch down and you do not disturb. Yeah, that's it. Job done.
I think Apple's probably going to drop that from the iPhone, and I think that's the best thing about the iPhone too. Is they've always had that physical switch. My bad was, and this is what you really gotta guard against. Is I saw the unread badge on messages, which there's only a couple of people that actually send me text messages, and it went right into the message thread, and I saw the whole thing. I'm like, oh, it's too late now. I marked it as read, and I won't go back, and it was no good. But I did have it muted. I unlocked the phone to do something else.
Man, you should hide that somewhere really deep.
Lost
in folders.
into a world. I know. I should put it off on another screen somewhere.
You guys sound like a bunch of old people.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we forget stuff easily?
Oh, you're messing things up on your phone. You like the hardware switches.
I tell you what, being able to reach in your pocket and flip that switch.
Nah, Chris, the future is software-defined everything. We're going to live in a software-defined reality.
I'm going to miss that when phone manufacturers drop in the headphone port is rough and drop in the toggle mute switch is rough.
But then it can
what the worst thing they dropped? They dropped the flip phone.
Yeah. It'll be back. It'll be back.
They just want to build one small thing that's just metal and glass and nothing else.
Yeah. Mark my words, though. The flip phone will come back. Maybe it'll be a Nokia. Wouldn't that be something if it was a Nokia?
See, this is
Sony
the perfect
made
time
one that
for a
was
Ting ad.
Yeah. Let's do a pre-show Ting ad.
Extra dose today,
Don't you mean a Microsoft phone, Chris?
No. So see, there's still Nokia, and they got.
I thought Microsoft kept the phone part and spun off everything else.
Well, there's actually still. It's very confusing. But
no, the original sale had a time limitation on Microsoft making smartphones, so it always reverted back to Nokia for making smartphones after a couple of years, and they started preparing for that.
Yeah,
very quickly.
Yeah. And they are actually already shipping phones.
The patents.
They are already doing it. They're shipping Android phones right now. They've started doing that.
Oh, but yeah, Microsoft owns the patents, though. That's the important part.
Yeah.
This is Linux Unplugged, episode 208 for August 1st, 2017. Oh, welcome to Linux Unplugged, your weekly Linux talk show where one of your hosts is literally witnessing his Bitcoin empire fork. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
Hello, Wes. Quite the show today, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Beard joins us, a.k.a. Mr. Rikai. Hello, Beard.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Beardsley. Thank you for making it again this week.
What a champ.
We have quite a show today. Quite a show today.
We had to because you have such woes about your finances.
That's true. We have the topics of forks coming up in a little bit. Some big transitions for the Gnome project. Windows users have yet another reason not to switch to Linux.
Uh-oh.
We're going to finally talk about that beautiful Linux based on Plasma that I forgot to get to last week. Krita's got some troubles. Firefox has got some new projects. And JB's making a transition. Plus, the start of a new challenge. We'll kick off. That's what I'm looking for. We'll kick off the Slackware challenge this week on the show. We're going to kick off the Slackware challenge. Are you ready, Wes?
I'm so excited.
Are you? You're going to do it with me, right?
Heck yes, I am.
So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the Slackware challenge. We'll lay the groundwork in this week's episode. So we got all of that. Plus, we have some breaking news that's happening right now as we record this show. So before we go any further, point of order right here. Got to bring in that mumble room. Time appropriate greetings, Virtual Lug.
Hello.
Hello.
I love that.
I do too. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. So really quickly, just off the top, we won't make a big to-do about it, but a very valuable and well-known open source project is undergoing a major fork today, and it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is splitting into BCC and BTC. So a minority of Bitcoin, but yet influential community members are forking Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. On August 1st, that was today, the Bitcoin blockchain split into two. Now, it doesn't look like it's having really a huge impact on value or on people's balances. The value of Bitcoin has remained pretty steady today. It just essentially creates a new token. Now, it's up to different aspects of the community if they're going to recognize it or not. Bitcoin Cash will fork Bitcoin's existing software and transaction history, and it brings a new cryptocurrency tokens on a new blockchain with different rules. One of those big rules is the size of the blockchain, individual transactions and whatnot. This has sort of been brewing in the background for a while, more than a year, really probably since I've been doing Plan B. And as a Bitcoin user, I noticed that there is a massive delay now in processing transactions unless you really kind of grease the wheels with an unusually high transaction fee. But after running into a few roadblocks this morning, miners were able to successfully create blocks on a new blockchain called Bitcoin Cash at roughly, I don't know why it's roughly, at 2:14 p.m. Eastern Time today. This effectively means it's happened. At this point in time, some pretty big outlets, though, are not really recognizing Bitcoin Cash. I believe Coinbase being one of them. Yeah. And it's taking off. It's growing from there. The big launch, though, I mean, some people may actually be able to make some money for this. And we may see that both these things continue to exist, especially if transaction fees are lower on the Bitcoin Cash network. So it may be that smaller transactions become popular on Bitcoin Cash and large transactions become more popular on standard BTC. Who knows? But I know it's not a Linux topic, but don't tell me. Tell the Linux Foundation.
It's the power of forking.
I think it's just a non-story.
Really?
I think it's just going to be another Litecoin. It's going to drop off.
Here's why I think it's, well, maybe. Here's why I feel like this story has some legs, is the real thing that's the topic of debate here is the technology in the blockchain.
Yeah, but just a few days ago, a lot of the Bitcoin core team and a lot of the companies came to a consensus about how to go forward with that.
Yeah, I don't think Bitcoin's screwed or anything like that. But I think so. I just made a little reference there to the Linux Foundation. I think there's real money, like huge money, like game-changing, going to disrupt the financial industry money in blockchain technology. And so when anything is happening in the open source blockchain projects, I think there is a much bigger technology story being told there.
This reminds me of the distros that forked off and did the non-systemd stuff. It feels like the same kind of situation.
Devlon and similar.
Yeah. Although in this case, the Bitcoin Cash people might argue that they're the more progressive-minded folks that
that's what the non-systemd folks said too.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to note it because it happened today. There are arguments against this fork. Larger block sizes mean there's going to be more delay in block propagation. It'll be harder, more expensive to maintain a node. Starting a new node from scratch is going to take forever to download all that stuff. It's already massive.
But it's kind of interesting that this is one of the, whether good or not, it's one of the interesting things about cryptocurrencies in general is that these sorts of things can happen and they can exist off on their own and do whatever they want, and we get to watch.
Yeah, and I just silently sit here and hope that the last remaining few Bitcoins that I have clutched onto are worth something in a few years.
Amen.
Amen to that. So last week we talked to Mr. Martin Wimpress about the Ubuntu Mate's project migration to GitHub. And it looks like this week that the Gnome project might be fancying themselves a move. Did you see this one, Wes?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's going to be GitHub. It looks like it's not GitHub. They say essentially that they need to improve their development infrastructure, and they want to provide developers a more efficient, integrated, featureful way to enjoy a set of tools. That's actually what they say, yeah. They say their current system is getting increasingly antiquated. They use a cgit for code hosting and Bugzilla for issue tracking. Wow. Are we calling Bugzilla antiquated now?
Yes.
Are we allowed to say that? Because I don't think you're allowed to say things like that about open source software that a lot of open source advocates use. I think you're not allowed to say that.
I'll say it about cgit anyway.
I'm the proprietary guy that likes GitHub issues, so.
GitLab is open source, so if they go to GitLab, all good.
Yeah, so it looks like the evaluation has focused on two main solutions. Speaking of GitLab and Fabricator. If you're unfamiliar with these, they have a little introduction, but beware that they say that GitLab isn't simply a GitHub clone. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but it sounds like in their inference in there is that GitLab is missing features.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little diggy dig, and GitLab is MIT licensed, so they could possibly extend GitLab.
Mm-hmm.
GitLab has a bit of a reputation. I don't know if it's fair or not, so I'm not making any judgments. But GitLab has a reputation for being a little snippety about upstream acceptance of new patches and stuff. Like, they seem to be pretty not accepting. Seems to be the reputation. Fair or not, I don't know. So I don't know if that means that the GNOME project would essentially end up forking a version of GitLab for their own use. That's not ideal either, because what I like about Bugzilla is it was commonly used in the community. So there was more than one project maintaining it.
Well, if GNOME forks GitLab, they'll just remove features, so it's okay.
Maybe they'll call it.
I believe that entirely.
Yeah, they'll just keep it simple. Yeah, well, hey,
But in
it's
like
easier to
5
maintain.
years, it'll be really polished and we'll all love it.
Yeah.
It'll have a giant header bar too.
So they figure, I think they've played around with GitLab a little bit, but so anyways, they're looking for feedback, and that's one of the reasons I threw it in our community news section, is they are looking for feedback from the community, especially the GNOME community, in creating a migration plan based on their concerns and things like that. So it's probably a good time to get involved. The issue tracker seems to be a big part of it for them.
I'd say, I wish them luck. Yeah, no, it is a good idea. And the whole going from just like something like cgit to modern, interactive, really rich web UI source control platforms, it can't be like a remarkable shift for a lot of developers. There are those of us who live and breathe the command line, but for a lot of people, that really makes it easier for them to understand, interact, quicker to develop with. So I can see that doing good things for the project.
Well, the number one thing you see is, now this is more of a GitHub effect than it is a GitLab effect, but the number one thing you see with GitHub is way more community involvement all of a sudden. Now, GitLab it benefits from a bit of that halo effect too. MonkeyCom, you wanted to jump in with a point about GitLab. Go ahead.
Yeah, we switched over to GitLab just because of the issue tracking. And we've switched everything. We were SVN, so we had to, but all our developers are now on GitLab, and issue tracking and even integrating some of the bug fix technology into our existing switching is just, it works seamlessly. So.
Well, there you go, right there. And I think we've seen other people sort of say that too, especially people in the community.
I just want to point out though, command line, you can still use command line with GitLab and GitHub.
Sure.
I exclusively use command line for those.
Yeah, actually, I think I've only used the command line with GitHub. I've never used any graphical.
I usually just use the web interface because they are very.
Oh well, yeah. I mean to browse it and stuff, but I mean
to
make
commits
to
right
clone
there too.
software. Oh yeah,
which is useful for like casual users or people who.
I tend to like
if you're fixing a typo or something.
Never done.
Clone the repo or anything.
Oh, okay.
I tend to like it because I'm a very visual person.
Sure.
They surface the stuff in a very easy to understand way.
Yeah.
You can even edit the documents right in GitLab, so you don't even have to do a remote commit. You just open the file, edit it, and save and commit the changes right there in the web interface.
That is nice, and I could definitely see how that would bring in a lot more people. Robert, you had something you wanted to contribute. Go ahead.
Well, just saying, GitLab also has its own built-in CI server. So you have one. You only need to install one thing, and you get all the features from issue tracking to a CI build server.
Yeah.
And pipelining all built in one go.
And
nice.
It's also pretty straightforward to set up, that's pretty compelling too. So let's talk about GitHub for a second. I guess they had a bit of an outage yesterday.
That's right.
I didn't really impact anything I was doing, but probably affected some projects that have moved over to GitHub. But Wes, like he does, just loves to sleuth around GitHub all day long, and he found this project with no description, no topics provided, 7 commits, 1 contributor. But ladies and gentlemen, you could be looking at Google's JPEG killer, a lossless JPEG replacement. It's called PIK, P-I-K, and it's a new lossy image format for the internet. And Wes here has this directory that contains an encoder and a decoder for the format. It requires a CPU that has a FMA little compute chip in it, so like a Haswell or better Intel or a AVX2, I think, on... I think those are both x86 technologies. So it's like turbocharged by your CPU. And then down here at the bottom it says, this is not an official Google product.
No, it ain't.
but it's just on their GitHub page.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
So, didn't Google already create this with WebP anyway?
Yeah. Well, WebP might be to do something else. This seems to be like one of the things that they've done here is they've built a lossless JPEG repackager. Like it's built to replace JPEGs.
Huh.
I don't know.
I think it's because PIC is lossy and WebP is lossless. Like,
Well, didn't he just say it was a lossless JPEG replacement?
PIC is lossy.
What is the okay? So what is the? Well, I guess it just probably means you can convert from JPEG to this. You've already lost with JPEG;
Yeah.
it's already compressed. What is the new image format that the internet phones are going to have with iOS 11? The HIF or whatever it is, HEIF format. It's actually like I guess it's a standard.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So I think we're going to have a new image. This is probably for Android, maybe not. It's just we could have a new world of image formats all of a sudden. Us Linux users have gotten real comfortable to be able to double-click on files, and we could have iPhone users and Android users taking pictures in formats that we can't open.
Okay, so there is a GitHub repository for it. HEIF.
Yeah,
HEIF. Yeah.
HEIF.
So
Okay, yeah.
sounds like, at least from what I'm reading over on HN here, it's a image container format. The
Right, it's
current
more like
implementation
MKV.
Can support JPEG, H.264, or H.265. So I think that Apple will probably be using a version of H.265. It's
Right.
similar for
In
image.
the HEIF container.
Yes.
Which is confusing, but think of it as like MKV. You can have X264 or a VP8 file in an MKV container.
So if they use H.264 or H.265, then you may have some patent issues or other things with that, but
my head's spinning.
not with JPEG.
Does it really matter though? Because Imagers are already using WebM and WebP, and that's like half the images on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do. Some people here do also speculate, like we were just talking about, that WebP is lossy and is aimed at low quality and YUV 420 only. So PIC is perhaps a broader scope.
I'm always disappointed, like when I'm on Google Plus, when I'm accidentally on Google Plus, which is the only time I've ever on Google Plus anymore. And I want to grab something that's funny off of Google Plus, and I grab the image, and it's a WebP image. I can't put that in Telegram. Like, that's what I want to do with it, right? I can't toss that on Twitter. Like, I gotta like save it to my desktop, open it up, save it as a JPEG. It's jank.
Wait, what? It doesn't work on Telegram? Aren't the stickers WebP?
Yeah, I believe they are.
Oh well, you
actually.
can't. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get to attach as an image that would embed in the chat. Preview.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's weird.
I could try again. But yeah, I was like, well, this is disappointing. This is what I wanted this image for.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right. So while we're talking about things that are just applicable to just absolutely everybody on the sun, that's what. Hey, can you tell it's summertime, everybody? There's something that's been cooking under the sun, and that's the Windows subsystem for Linux. Now, it's out of beta, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can get your hands on it yet. You know how Microsoft works, right? They like to announce something this is a final product that you can get in 3 months. So that's what's going on, I think, with the subsystem for Linux. But Microsoft says they're damn excited. They are damn excited to announce that in Windows 10 Fall Creators Update, because that's what we have to name service packs now, due to ship in fall of 2017, the Windows subsystem for Linux will no longer be a beta feature and will become a fully supported Windows feature.
Whoa!
No more hacking your Windows box with those drop-down things that just put you in the Insider program. And this is great news for those of you who have considered not switching to Linux and now need an excuse not to, because really what this is doing is it's signaling to people that you can now put this in production. In fact, Microsoft even promotes this aspect. They say, now you can go ahead and integrate this in with your day developer toolset and become even more productive when building, testing, and deploying your apps on Windows 10.
Which nobody's doing, so it doesn't matter anyway.
When your boss tells you have to run Windows, and then you can just install this and pretend.
The problem
like you're
is
running Linux.
that subsystem is not going to matter to like 80% of the people that are doing development, because you can't use SSHFS to connect to your Linux servers anyway.
Yeah. Do you hear that?
That's quite an edge case. Just because you can't use SSHFS.
Really? Is that really an edge case? Do you know how many people use SSHFS to work on their Linux servers?
But a lot of people. That's my point. There's plenty of people who develop locally and then deploy using other tools. SSHFS isn't the only tool to do that.
No, but I think it's more common than you think.
I use SSHFS for something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's. I mean, there are a lot.
Uses it.
Oh, go on.
KDE Connect uses SSHFS to remotely access your phone, your file manager on your phone.
Ah, yeah. I mean, it is definitely a helpful tool, but there are a lot of things.
So
like with
why wouldn't you just
LSync
use WinSCP? You could just use WinSCP, right?
I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to have it on the command line, but there's ways around it. But I've never tried this. I did consider actually giving this a go, but then I realized it's not actually going to be out until the fall update. But
the autumn update for our UK viewers.
actually, could you call it the correct thing? It's the fall creators update.
Oh.
Do they call it the autumn creators update?
I know there was a whole debate about
really?
if they were
Yeah.
going to rename it or not. I'm not sure which way they went.
God, Microsoft.
I thought we were just calling them all Redstone updates now. I heard that's why they bought Minecraft.
That would be better.
Yeah, so the only thing you really have to do is once it's ready is you'll just go into the Windows feature area and check the Windows subsystem for Linux. This blog seems to imply that the only change most people are going to notice is that they just didn't put beta in parentheses next to the subsystem name. Like they really haven't changed much since then. Fascinating. We have gone from Microsoft and Canonical co-announcing this feature to now SUSE is on here. Isn't Fedora too? Was it Fedora?
I think so, yeah.
You can hack Arch onto that.
And now Ubuntu, and people are putting Arch on there. It is...
So maybe while you're doing your new challenge, you can see if you can put that on there.
Put Slackware on Windows 10.
Yeah, that just seems like the ultimate, power machine.
Save it for the Slackware challenge segment, Wes.
I'm sorry.
Toss it in there.
I have to say, I haven't seen any promo from any other distros that are featured in there.
Very quiet.
It makes me wonder if maybe they're a little ashamed of it.
So not only have they been very quiet since the announcement, but they were mums when it was announced initially. And I mean, so we have two mums. We have mums on no details about what was going to go in there. It was only something Microsoft said. And then once it's actually in there, really no promotion from the projects either. It is extremely awkward. And I wonder if it's a little bit of that Novell partnership shame when Novell teamed up with Microsoft back in the day. And then SUSE was just punished publicly for it so harshly. I wonder if they're just gun shy from that kind of stuff. But yeah, to me it seems like something you'd want to promote. And the Windows news outlets like your Paul Thurrott's and your Mary Jo Foley's, they were talking about it quite a bit. So people knew. Anyways, I haven't got a chance to try, but now I actually feel like maybe that now it's coming out of beta, maybe I actually should just give it a go. But that would mean installing Windows 10. So I really got to make it worth it. I would really got to. It's got to be
some content
like
out
something
of that.
else I could do on Windows 10. It's like if you're going to travel somewhere, you don't go there just for the sandwich. Like you might really want that sandwich.
Yeah.
Is that am I only person?
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay, because sometimes there's places that make really good sandwiches.
Oh, you need to try it.
I haven't eaten for a
But
while.
you can't tell family members. It's just too embarrassing.
I think I should have lunch after this.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's take a moment. Stop talking about sandwiches. Damn it, Wes. Talking about sandwiches. Let's talk about Ting. Go to linux.ting.com to support the show and get $25 in Ting credit. Or if you're gonna buy a brand new device, they'll give you $25 off the device too. That's pretty nice. You go to linux.ting.com. It's just pay for what you use. Wireless. A fair price, however much you talk, text, or however much data you use. It's $6 for the line, and then your usage on top of that for your minutes, your messages, and your megabytes. Nationwide coverage, no contracts, no quote-unquote agreements, a dashboard better than any other phone or carrier on the market. They support GSM and CDMA phones. They have a network for both, so check their BYOD page. You can buy directly from them or bring your own. I've done a little bit of both myself. One of the things I really like to suggest about Ting, too, is to constantly check their social network because they have been doing a giveaway of Simoto G4S's, I believe it was. And if you check their page for their shop page, but start by going to linux.ting.com, they'll often have deals on stuff like they've got SIM cards for $9. They got the Cadillac phones there at the top, and then you go down, they got some amazing deals, especially depending on what you need from a phone. Like they have flip phone stuff, they have MiFis, just tons of phones. Look at all these phones. Look at this. They have, look at this, Wes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 phones under $100.
Wow.
And then the E4 just added $129.
You might as well just buy one so you have a backup in case you break your
Stuff it
fancy
in the glove box.
nice phone. Yeah.
When am I getting a new phone, Chris?
I know, right? I'm feeling maybe problem is my hand-me-downs don't run Android anymore.
That is one thing people complain about to me. They're like, well, yeah, but what if I need to go? I can't go to the Verizon store or whatever. And I mean, I think one, there are other stores, but two, like at those prices, you can just buy one as a backup.
Well, and I've been with Noah on the road when he damaged his phone. He went into Best Buy, he bought an unlocked phone, he put a Ting SIM in it, and he was back online within minutes.
Boom.
It's really flexible. Linux.ting.com. So I want to just mention Nitrux. It's the most beautiful Linux distribution ever, and I teased it last week, and then we didn't have a chance to talk about it. And I would have just let it pass by, because everybody likes to make these claims. Oh, Wes, It's the most beautiful Linux ever!
I've heard that before.
Right? We've all been romanced with that.
It's the most beautiful Mac clone ever.
It does look a little Mac OS-ish, I suppose. It sort of has, but it has elementary style launcher with a dock down below and a persistent bar along the top. But it's actually Plasma 5 and cute. Mm-hmm. And it's based on Ubuntu 17.10. And I don't know. It's I've been recently looking at Netrunner and Maui Linux. I'm going to review Maui Linux. Chase and I are going to talk about Maui Linux
Is
the
that
next user.
right?
So I've been trying out different Plasma-based distros recently, sort of whittling my way to my final destination.
I like this new distro hopping, Chris.
Thank you.
It's fun.
I know. I've done like 3 distros in like the last week. I am getting around. So if you want a really fancy Nitrix or a Plasma theme desktop, you can go check it out. They call it the Nomad desktop. Did we talk about this? I feel like maybe we did talk about it.
We did.
Okay.
So-
I used it a little bit.
Did you? Did you have a follow up at all?
No, it's a little clunky.
Yeah.
Like it's got a lot of cool ideas, but it's in massive beta, so I kind of automatically just classify the clunkiness to the beta part because they're basing on a beta and all their stuff is a beta, so it's hard to say that any of the bugs I experienced were game changers or anything.
So there you go. So
there's a lot of cool ideas they've been doing.
Yeah. Wait. So there was some things that impressed you.
Yeah, I want to use some of their applets in Neon, but I like the notification is really I really like that applet because they rebuilt the whole system tray.
Yeah,
and I think they did that pretty well. But the System D module for system settings, I want that to be put in the regular Plasma.
Yeah, that jumped out at me too in the screenshot there. Well, thank you, Ron. Thank you for the follow up on it. I started to get a sense we talked about, and I realized, this is what happens if I don't drink a beer before the show. So I fast, then I go in here, and these kinds of things come up. So producer Michael coming in with the follow-up to save the segment. Thank you, sir. And while we're talking about Plasma desktop type things, like the Plasma desktop applications, there's a real situation going on with Krita. The Krita Foundation appears to be in a bit of peril. And this is at first I was like, a foundation for Krita? Like, Jesus, does every project need a foundation? Like, what the hell's going on here? I mean, I was a little skeptical at first. But this is how they are able to pay for one of their full-time developers. It's actually just sort of the way things go. Mm-hmm. Our buddy Ike today on Patreon announced that they're starting the legal framework to set up a company around Solus. Same thing. Like, you just, there's gets to it. That's why I did Jupiter Broadcasting eventually. It's just where you get to eventually where it's like, oh, crap, now I got to do this. So the Krita folks have a foundation. It helps pay for some things and people and things like that. And they're getting their taxes all in line, and they figured everything would be fine since they hired a lawyer to help set everything up, and they checked all the boxes beforehand, and they've been doing everything that lawyer/consultant told them to do. However, they ended up getting flagged, and the tax inspector found 2 problems, and essentially they're caught in a real catch-22 because they claimed back VAT for things that they bought by the foundation, but they also besides taking in donations, also sold some things like swag or documentation or guides. And so they weren't 100% donation based. They were also kind of a company. So they're mostly not a company, but they're also kind of a company. And so they're getting screwed on both ends of that. And they have a tax bill of 24,000 euros right now as a result. They got it whittled down to 15,000, but then the tax accountant bill came out to 4,000 euros. So, oh man,
that's a sticky situation.
It is a bad situation. It is really bad. And there's also kind of confusing because the primary full-time developer was in Russia, and so they didn't pay some of the taxes that they thought they should have, or something like that.
They weren't required. They were trying to charge him for things that they were not required to do because he was in Russia.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So that's just a bad situation for them because you realize when you read this post that they essentially did everything right. And it's just like if you're here in the States, the way you would have gotten around this, because obviously I can't apply it over there, but here in the States, the way you would have gotten around that is the fee for the books and the DVDs and stuff would have been a gift of a donation amount gift. You could make a donation of $5 or more, and we'll send you these DVDs. And that's how you get around this problem in the States. I don't know how you get around it outside the States, but that's, because if you have to really be careful. If you're a foundation or a nonprofit in the States, you really got to watch that because the IRS will get you. And they got.
So it looks like now they've spun off as a separate company that will take that income, and then the main foundation can be 100%.
Makes sense. That's how you should do it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is why even nonprofits and open source companies have lawyers on retainer.
Yeah.
And fees and things.
Even though it costs a crap ton, it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah. Wow, man. They've also spent, the other thing that is just, we've just talked the hard numbers and stuff, but think about the stress of this on these guys.
Right.
They just want to make great open source design software, great software. Then they have to take months of their development time to resolve this issue. It's eaten to their coding productivity. They were too distressed by all this and too busy to do their usual May fundraiser, so their revenue is down. They thought at one point they were going to almost certainly go broke, but like a couple of hero donors stepped up.
That's awesome.
And kept them going for a little bit. And so, you're sitting there at the end of the day and you're like, we just haven't been as productive as we wanted.
Boy, wouldn't be like dealing with taxes. You're like, this is the opposite of I wanted when I wanted to make my badass new, illustrating software.
It's really sad. Because, you just want to make open source software. You don't want to do all this.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've done that.
And you're not even trying to make money off of it.
And they had a consultant tell them, and it's just, you could see how years go by and now you've sold a few DVDs and you don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. And of course, you think it's all going into the foundation's pot. It's all going towards work and all that. But yeah. So Krita Foundation is in a sort of a bad situation. But they're posting year-end reports, and I'm just kind of following this. I don't really see them like begging for money here, but they do have a spot on this post, which we have linked in the show notes. It's also at krita.org, where you can make a one-time donation or a reoccurring donation. It's got a $1 minimum. So, if I know Albert Wester is a huge user of Krita.
If anybody really loves Krita, send him 14 grand.
Yeah, right? Help him out.
Really loves Krita.
I tell you, you really got to love it. You really got to do. So let's talk a little more community news. I'm liking this. So we're kind of sticking to community stuff in Linux Unplugged. And when I look at Firefox from like a community perspective, I don't hate it like Popey does. Yeah. I know Popey's a big Firefox hater these days. Only uses Chrome.
How dare you?
But I actually get more excited about some of the things they're working on from that. Like Project Common Voice is really neat. We've been covering that on Linux Action News. And now, my friends, I invite you to go to testpilot.firefox.com/experiments. And check out some of this goodness here. So this will be relevant later on in the show. VoiceFill, which is a speech recognition in Firefox. A VoiceFill lets you speak to your favorite search engines and fill in the information using Firefox to do the processing. Send. This is the one we're going to play with probably. Send, which is an encrypted file transfer. It generates a link, and you can send it to people like in an email or something like that. This one I really like. Snooze tabs. Right website, wrong time, snooze it until you need it.
Yeah.
Snooze tabs lets you dismiss tabs now and set an alarm to open them later. That's neat. But then they take it up a notch. Containers. Contain yourselves. Create different containers for each of your online lives. Your work self, your social self, your personal self, to stay organized and maintain privacy. That actually almost kind of registers with me because my hack for that right now is either incognito mode, which is transient, or I spread it out across like 3 web browsers. So my 3 main accounts I like to bang around in all the time, I spread it out. And, it's like my personal account, my work account, and then maybe like one of the show accounts that I'm reading the news or the email feedback for that. But if I could do containers... Well, that just sounds like the kind of ridiculousness I might get into. I'm not sure if they're really doing Docker or what. Let's go take a look. They also have a few other ones. Like I was saying, they have the Send one, which is pretty neat. Send lets you upload and encrypt large files up to 1 gigabyte. So that's another way you and I were just talking about sending files around before the show.
The Firefox tab containers are not necessarily containers. They are individual session management.
Sure, yeah. So it's not like Docker or something like that.
No. It's actually, to me, it's what I've been wanting for years.
Yeah.
And what I've had to do, like weird workarounds to like make my own browser structures and stuff.
It's
I had to build like things built on Electron.
It's containerization of like the user profiles,
of personas,
right? Or personas,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
personas. That's profiles.
Yep, that's the part.
Which is great because I have like 35 personas in Chrome, and this is one of the big things that has kept me from Firefox. So I know I moan about Firefox, but this is one of the big things that it just isn't currently very good at having a large number of very separate profiles and having all of them or a large number of them open at the same time. It just can't do that.
Yeah. It's even nice in a family shared machine.
There is an add-on.
I have tried it, and it is awful. So,
there's an add-on that does literally what this new feature is going to do. Like, it's individual tabs that have different profiles associated to tabs. You just like choose which profile you want on what tab.
Huh. So you could. Oh yeah, it looks like you can do that with this feature too. You'll be able to set it up. You can have each tab be its own. That's even more useful. Yeah. So instead of having multiple windows. Yeah, I guess that's the way Chrome does it now, because we have a family machine at the RV that everybody sits down at, so we have different personas there on Chrome, which is really nice. And then this Mumble machine has Chrome with different personas on it for different hosts that sit down. And we use that quite a bit, but it always spawns a whole new window.
Yeah, it's not on separate tabs. This is like a full... This is just using electrolysis at its like potential, like really what it's great for.
So you're saying this is maximum electrolysis? That's what
this is the this separation of processes, but also separation of profiles on top of the processes, whereas Chrome is just processes and no profile structure.
Let's be real.
So like you have a full profile, but you can't have individual tab sessions, whereas this would do that.
People are only really ever going to have 3 containers. They're going to have a home container, they're going to have a work container, and they're going to have a porn container.
Oh yeah, I was thinking like shopping and stuff, but you're right. A porn container would probably be pretty.
Why do you even need a porn container? Surely that's what.
Just that's the default.
Incognito is for.
Yeah,
I suppose that's true.
It's already there.
I guess he gets sick and tired of because Incognito doesn't save cookies, so he'd have to log in every single time. I guess that's one.
Yeah,
I really don't.
It's not
want
saving
those cookies.
You'll have your you'll have your encrypted porn container password cookies.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm totally not liking this video on Facebook. That's for sure.
Just wait till you have the version that integrates it in with systemd, and then you'll have it down all the way contained. That's really what I'm going to be excited.
So I sent you a test link there.
Oh, where did you send it?
Over in the chat. Yeah, over in our Slack channel.
Okay, all right, I'll bring that up. So is this using the new Firefox
It is.
Send?
I installed it right there in Firefox and everything.
So it works in Chrome or Firefox, I noticed. So that's a good thing.
It's interesting too because it's kind of like a web infrastructure play and not a browser play.
Yeah, so they must be. They're hosting this somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the URL is it's an HTTPS and it's send.firefox.com/download and then a character string and then a hash after that. So that's like interesting. So I wonder if that hash of the file is persistent. Anyways, yeah, okay. So then it. Is it safe? Is it safe to download?
That's just a crappy webcam picture of me.
So I'm going to download, and then it's downloaded super fast, and boom, there it is.
Hey,
There's Wes.
This is actually Firefox backdoor launching their Dropbox competitor.
Yeah, well, in a way, like, why does Mozilla want to get into the file hosting?
It's kind of funny.
It sounds more like a competitor to WeTransfer.
Yeah.
But do they really want to be policing child porn and pictures of ISIS beheadings?
In some ways, it seems kind of like a desperate ploy of Chrome tries to be so useful with all the things Google does, they kind of have to do the same.
Isn't this?
Or are they doing it permanent thing? Because it sounds if they're doing a WeTransfer structure, it's like once a day they wipe.
Yeah, there is expiration. Yeah,
aren't these?
So it's basically like WeTransfer.
So you think that means they don't have to police it as much, though? Is that true?
Yeah, because they're just going to delete it anyway.
Yeah.
So once you use, it's mainly for just like if you have a giant file you can't reasonably send to someone, you can upload it to here, send it to them, give them a link, they download it, then it's gone.
I don't think you deleting it quickly obviates you from sticking to the legal framework in the country that you operate. You can't say,
certainly, but I'm saying
I had the child porn on my computer for half an hour, officer, therefore and it's gone now, therefore it's not a problem.
Well, as far as like the legal ramifications for Firefox, it's like, how are they going to find that they have this information if they don't have, they can't say, we found this, we report it to you, you have 30 days to get rid of it or something. You have to make action, but it's already gone.
When they're monitoring some nonce who's using this to transfer files back and forth, and they're monitoring the URLs, they certainly can go after them for having distributed the data. Not that they're necessarily hosting it anymore, but they did distribute it. So the fact that it's gone isn't going to help them when it comes to their time in court.
I mean, there's like 20 of these services right now, so I'm wondering how they handle that then, because they have the same situation.
I think what you say is certainly true, but I imagine they will be a much lower priority. At least it seems like a lot of these, like you can download this once and then it expires. So I imagine priority will be given to places that are actually distributing it in a meaningful way rather than one-on-one.
Okay, so bringing the conversation back to Firefox itself, it sounds like Minimec has been banging around on beta 55. How's that been going?
I tell you, it's a real pleasure. I mean, 54 was even what's getting better, but 55 is really cool. A lot of less memory usage. You can use it on really small systems, and it's running really great. I was really surprised.
It's absurdly faster.
Really?
Yeah, it's noticeable. If anyone had a problem with using Firefox before, and from like Firefox like 45, 46 or so up to 54, they've been getting faster and faster, but it's like, barely noticeable. Like if you go get 45 and then you compare it to 54, you'll notice a difference. But like between each individuals, but 54 to 55, you can easily tell a difference.
All right, Beard.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
I want to know what it would take for you to give it a go, for you to actually use it. Because you are all in on Chrome.
I have no reason to use it.
So it's not even a consideration? Like, what if it's faster? Like, what if it renders pages faster?
Is it less crashy? Because every time I've tried to use Firefox, I run into crashing issues.
I'll tell you
it's less crashy for me, yeah.
I would imagine, right? Because the technology changes they're making would have to lend to stabilities.
I'm also unusual use case, though, because I have literally hundreds and hundreds of tabs.
I use about 150 tabs, but so I don't probably have as many as you, but I have a significant amount. And the new structure with the electrolysis plus the 55 speed increase is noticeably different. And like if there is crashing now, that it's a much cleaner and elegant like replacement. So it doesn't crash its entirely.
That is
just
very
like
encouraging.
this process goes away.
That's very encouraging.
I'm also kind of tied into the Chrome infrastructure because there's a lot of specialized extensions that I use that don't have direct Firefox replacements.
Yeah,
they probably will soon, especially with 55 and above. You can use web extensions that are essentially Chrome extensions ported to Firefox.
Interesting.
That is.
Yeah.
So
and 57 is going to be only web extensions, but 53 introduced like the web extension as an option. So there's already a lot of extensions that are already built that are ported to Firefox right now in the Firefox market, like add-on market.
See, the problem for me is, and as a former Firefox extension developer, is that Firefox keeps changing their extensions. There's been like 6 different iterations of extensions. So, and like 3 of them are deprecated now. So you can't guarantee that your extensions are going to be there in 6 months.
Yeah, there is that.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons they're using web extensions as the infrastructure now, because they're making it to like a consolidated type, like, this one framework is what's going to be used for most browsers.
That's what they did to pitch the last 4 extension things, though.
Yeah, but they were the only ones that controlled that framework. So the other browsers didn't want to agree with that framework, and so Firefox is giving into web extensions.
I'll tell you. So in the Discord chat, who just brought it up? Somebody just brought up in the Discord chat Firefox's touchscreen support. Mozilla did, and it is a limitation of Firefox that we don't talk about because how many of us are using touchscreens? Yeah. But guess what? We have a touchscreen here in the studio, and so every now and then I got to pull up a web browser on it, and Firefox is a disaster, and Chrome is much better.
55 has improved the touch a little bit as far as like the scrolling, because Firefox touch scrolling used to be atrocious, and it's a lot better now with 55. I wouldn't say it's probably as good as Chrome because Chrome is a lot more cohesive, but I would say by the time 55 comes out, it's possible that it might.
So going back to the experiments for a second, isn't that exactly the kind of thing that people were giving Firefox crap about doing like 6-12 months ago, where they weren't focusing on their core browser and improving the core browser?
Things like hello.
Yeah, and they were.
Well, don't you think? But okay, send is probably the biggest hello. Okay, that I agree, but the tab stuff is actually, and container stuff's actually pretty nice. Like the sleeping a tab and then having it come back at a scheduled time.
I'm excited to try
That's
that.
kind of genius, actually.
Yeah, some of them are definitely improvements to the browser, but some of them feel like just ancillary projects that are taking away from the browser.
Sleeping tab is already usable. Like you can do it now, but the timer stuff is really cool. Yeah. But like there's I think the experiments are great because a lot of people talked about how Firefox is removing features and it's becoming like a crappy clone of Chrome or whatever, like not even using the engine or whatever, and then just keeping these, Firefox is changing all these things and it's making Firefox no longer as good as it was. But now they're introducing these potentially like game changer features like the container structure of the profiles and session management. That would make me that would be like the main reason I could say you should use Firefox over any other browser because you can control the session per tab. And if you want to go to like, I want to log into Twitter 10 times with 10 different accounts, no problem, ready to go.
Yeah, that seems really compelling. I'm going to definitely be giving it a go. Absolutely, 100%. I'm actually kind of funny. I'm at the point with Chrome where I was at with Firefox when I switched away, where the sync feature is finally biting me in the ass. It took a long time, so I got to give the Chrome folks credit for that. But extensions that I removed, I pared down my browser extensions ages ago.
Well, you tried to.
Yep, they're repopping back up. And the ones that I need most critically are failing on the machine that I need it the most critically, which is the machine that's on the live stream. And so those things are all like, they're not, I can go back in, I can repair the extension, and then I can reload all my tabs. So I have a workaround. But I'm looking at that Firefox and I'm going, I love what they're about and I love what they're doing. It's going to be time for me to kick the tires again. Absolutely.
Especially if you just want to try out the beta. It's definitely worth trying it, like even now, because it runs so fast. It's shocking.
So there's a story that I wasn't going to cover, but I've been seeing in the chat room, and a hashtag blame Popey. It's coming up again, and it seems to be discussion worthy because the chat room's talking about it a lot. And there was a section in the new Red Hat Enterprise release. So Red Hat just put out, I believe, 7.4 Red Hat Enterprise, and you may or may not realize that in every release, they have a deprecated functionality section. So in Chapter 53 of the release notes of Red Hat Enterprise 7.4, they have the deprecated functionality chapter. Of course, that's what everybody uses. That's what everybody does with Chapter 53,
right? That's my favorite chapter.
Deprecated functionality. And the one that is getting the chat room's attention today is... they're dropping ButterFS. They're pulling back on ButterFS. And it seems to be what everybody wants to talk about. So I thought I'd open it up. I'll start with the announcement. They say the ButterFS file system has been in technology preview state since the initial release of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6. And Red Hat will not be moving ButterFS to a fully supported feature, and it will be removed in a future major release of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Popey, is this a bad sign for ButterFS? Is this essentially the death of ButterFS for the enterprise file system?
I really can't tell, and I don't know. I mean, they're hedging their bets and saying it'll be removed in a later release, which
they could always change those plans,
right? And it doesn't say when that would be, so that those plans could change. But I find it interesting that like two of the major players in Linux have taken a completely different stance on this. That like for SUSE, it's like all in. Default install,
integrated into the package manager with with
it's all there,
Snapper and Zipper, whatever it is.
Although I have to say, I updated my when I saw the latest version of OpenSUSE came out. I updated my machine and it all fell apart because it ran out of disk space because all the snaps, the what's it called? The snapshots of sorry, I've got snaps on the brain. The snapshots from all the updates I'd done in the past caused it to run out of disk space, so I had to go in and manually, like an animal, remove these.
That reminds me of that damn /boot directory on my fiance's computer that I have to keep going cleaning out.
I can't wait to trigger you.
I can't wait for that update in 17.10 where it automatically cleans it up. That'll be so wonderful. But yeah, I follow you. It is funny because you kind of joke and jest, but they are also building new projects on top of ButterFS. They have some stuff they're working on right now that's really it's integral to it, and so that you're right. It is two major deviations, and then unless I'm mistaken right now, Ubuntu, like if I were to install the latest LTS of Ubuntu, it would default to extended 4, correct?
Right.
And then of course ZFS is available if you want it, which
and XFS and all the others, but we don't make ButterFS a first-class citizen like SUSE do.
I wonder, you got to wonder though, folks in Red Hat Legal right now are working overtime, making sure that they can put ZFS in future versions of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. They've got to be getting that from their enterprise customers. They've got to be getting that. I don't think there is, I would be willing to bet, and this is my supposition, I admit this, so this is just Chris guessing, but I'd be willing to bet like a steak dinner that there are at least enterprise customers exist that want to deploy ZFS. There's probably not nearly as many enterprise customers that are actively seeking to deploy ButterFS. There's just a difference in brand recognition. So I wonder where Red Hat will go. Maybe they'll go with XFS. Hey, so yeah, that's the
I
big
do think
story.
it's hard because a lot of I think a lot of enterprises kind of gave up on getting ZFS in a supported way, and so have large enterprise SANs or other solutions that they've kind of adapted to.
Yeah, a lot of those systems have something they just run on top of, and they just they have their own solution too. Yeah, when you're really doing large stuff. Anyways, it's a big release.
Or they switch to Ubuntu.
The chat room really zeroed in on it, though. I wasn't going to put it in the show. I wasn't going to put it in the show because I felt like it would just be ButterFS hating. But then I thought about it, and I guess it is kind of newsworthy that Red Hat's rolling back from it without really saying where they're going.
I even noticed recently I didn't even notice until I dug into it. My Netgear ReadyNAS runs ButterFS by default. I didn't even know that until I SSH'd into it and happened to type mount for whatever reason. I was like, oh, wow.
It's on a few appliances.
I'm actually running it reliably at home. It's perfectly fine. So that's good.
I suppose, if you really know what your use case is and you can control all these things and, it's not like it's destroying everybody's data everywhere. There's lots of people using it, but there's just, it's been labeled though. It's been branded.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Also, by the way, Red Hat Enterprise 7.4 is out.
Bum, bum, bum.
I guess that also... Oh, hi there. I guess that also didn't make it into the news. Anyways, there's a few other tweaks in there for the desktop. Nautilus Open Terminal is replaced with GNOME Terminal Nautilus, so brace yourself.
Ooh.
Brace yourself.
I like that word ordering.
Yeah. When a new version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7.4 ships, the Linux desktop market shakes. No, not really. Not really. But maybe one day. DigitalOcean.com. Go over to DigitalOcean.com and use our promo code DO Unplugged. After you sign up, it's one word. You apply it to your account. Boom! It's magic, Wes. You know what that does? It enables you. It enables you with a $10 credit to go create a machine on DigitalOcean's wicked fast infrastructure with all SSDs, unbelievably low pricing, and data centers all over the world. The entire friggin' infrastructure is SSDs, and man, do they scream. Really, they don't say what the bit rate is there, but it's fast. I'll just put it that way. You can get started in less than a minute. It's really nice, and they have lightning fast networking everywhere. Beard, how critical do you think DigitalOcean is to Jupiter Broadcasting? That's crucial and critical.
I mean, we're live streaming from DigitalOcean right now.
We're using at least three DigitalOcean droplets to make this show even happen right now. Yeah.
And, you could just spin up an Ubuntu droplet and stick some ZFS on an SSD on there.
Yeah, and it's actually a really cool way to play with ZFS because they have block storage, which you can scale up to 16 terabytes. Yep. So you can mess around with crazy ZFS experiments on their infrastructure. Just use our promo code DO Unplugged, and you can do it. Run their $5 rig and attach storage. Because you don't need, crazy amounts of RAM and CPU. Just try it for a little bit and experiment around. They also are working on object storage as well. Which
I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm. They have a whole list. We were also earlier talking about GitLab. One-click deployment, Ubuntu LTS, all up to date, nice and shiny, with GitLab ready to go, ready for you to use. Just one button deployment of a lot of great open source applications. And they have load balancing as a service. They make it really easy if you're in a team. And then an interface for pros or beginners and an API that's to die for. DigitalOcean.com. Use our promo code DO Unplugged. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Unplugged. A program. Got a couple of bits of community discussion I thought we'd pull in here. This first one is actually over from R Linux. And we read it so you don't have to. This came in, though, and I thought this was interesting. I really thought about this, and I thought, damn, this is an area where I was hoping by now Mycroft was going to solve. He writes, I recently injured my hands and wrists, and typing is painful. Boy, have I been there recently. Mouse use is not so bad, but still pretty sore. So I need voice control and or transcription software. Dictation for writing, but voice control for input would be helpful as well. I've tried Simon, Pocket Sphinx, Free Speech, all on Ubuntu 17.04. None of them work out of the box. It might be a cool gimmick. He talks about some of the other things that are in there, but for most people, but for me, I need it with my current disabilities. And he says, now that I really need it, Linux voice control is a total nightmare. So there was a couple of suggestions that came in, and I don't know if anybody in the Mumble room or the chat rooms has a suggestion, but here's a kind of a somewhat messy workaround, I admit, but I actually like this one, and it was from the comments section, using KDE Connect. Now, I'm not a daily user of KDE Connect, but what if you used the voice dictation on the Android phone for input and then use KDE Connect to send it in the machine?
That's clever. Interesting.
Is anybody a KDE Connect user?
I'm actually a daily user of KDE Connect who does this.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So is this a reasonable, like, actual workable solution?
As far as transcriptions go, yes, it actually works quite well because it'll mimic a keyboard. Like if you you do remote input with your KDE Connect from your phone, you can use it as a mouse or a keyboard. So it uses whatever your keyboard is to input the content through KDE Connect to your computer. So anything you send through your keyboard will go through KDE Connect to your computer. So you can have a keyboard that has voice built into it, and the voice dictation, if it's good, will send it to your computer, and it works great. But it requires a really good voice dictation and keyboard integration. So I use Swipe because it has drag and dictation built into it.
Oh,
okay.
Clever. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dragon's good stuff.
The company who makes Dragon bought Swipe Nuance, so they're integrated together
I did not
now.
realize.
Yeah, and it works so well because you can just because Dragon is so efficient, you just say whatever you want and it sends it in. This doesn't solve his problem about like management through voice, but it does solve the dictation, and I use it not all the time, but I use KDE Connect input every day, and I probably do the dictation when I'm doing like a long email or something.
So that's a good tip about Swipe. So if I grab the Swipe keyboard, I get to use Nuance's dictation engine. That's
Yep.
Not
Which
only
I
is
see
that nice,
on, like people who use OS X for kind of exactly that
or
reason.
iOS also. iOS voice dictation is licensed by Nuance. It's driven by Nuance. So they like Apple just forwards that on to Nuance and they do the processing. But the other nice thing about it is it means you're not sending your voice to Google, which is kind of means you could still get voice dictation on Android without having to send it off to Google. So that's a nice way to kind of get around that. I saw that producer Michael, you also jumped in the comments to help that guy out.
Yeah, I basically explained something similar, like a quick way, like this is how it works with me, but I didn't really go into detail. But
yeah,
it is a lot better than the basic Google voice dictation, and I think Swipe is a better keyboard in general. But the drag and dictation built into it is way better, and it's very smooth for this. And the fact that KDE Connect works on all DEs, and it's made by the KDE project, but is not specific to KDE Plasma. This is a great solution pretty much for all Linux users.
The other thing that is sort of a long-term looking up kind of thing is, and like I said earlier, we've been covering it on Linux Action News a couple of times, is Mozilla's voice project, Common Voice, and they're working on, if you go to voice.mozilla.org, they're working on essentially creating a common standard for this. Architect in the chat room also says that BSD Now has talked a bit about using, I forget, Orca, he said, so BSD Now has covered Orca a bit. So that's
Orca's the reverse. It's not a control, it's a reader.
Yeah, right. It's a screen reader, right? Orca's a screen reader. But I guess that would be the opposite side, is if that's something you want to try. Anyways, if you guys have any suggestions, I have a new way perhaps for you to get those suggestions into the show. Are you ready for this?
No.
So Jupiter Broadcasting is crazy pants sometimes, I swear. I swear sometimes we just sit around and then boom, all of a sudden it's total chaos right now. One of those moments is upon us. It is. We are trying out a new platform to.
Let me guess. The U.S. Postal Service.
I know. I'm couching this a lot, aren't I? Like I'm really building up here. You're right. Yeah, the U.S. Yeah, postcards. Everybody.
Can we at least use FedEx?
I think postcards would be pretty bad.
USPS is a lot more efficient for me.
I also think postcards would be great. And if you look at how much a postcard or a stamp costs, it's way cheaper than using FedEx.
What about carrier pigeons?
Or carrier drones, we could be hip. There's a lot of different things we're looking at these days, but we are beta testing a sort of community consolidation platform called Discord. That's how I'm looking at it. And it's one that we've had up on the chat room on and off. We've had that chat room up on the screen on and off. And it combines several features, and one of which is I personally face a problem today. And we'll just take a moment and go to Chris's corner here. And that problem is that there are many platforms that folk can reach me on. I'm going to just do this off the top of my head, so I'll probably get them wrong. But of course, there's Twitter, there's email, there is Telegram, there is Reddit messages, there are Facebook messages. Of course, there's also Twitter DMs, which I consider separate than app mentions. There's the IRC room. What am I forgetting, Rick? I'm forgetting a couple of things, but I think I'm making my point.
Did you say Telegram?
Yeah, I'm making my point. Like and that is, I would say those are the daily platforms that people use and expect me to reply to them. And it's just sort of crazy. It's just sort of nuts.
It's a bit of a message octopus.
Yeah, and
Forgot Google Plus.
And so, thanks. Yeah, Google Plus. Well, I kind of stopped checking it, but Google Plus. Yeah, you're right. It is one of them.
Since I've started hosting shows, I'm starting to feel some of this. Yeah. Like I've been getting Reddit messages and Twitter DMs. And
So you know that XKCD comic about how there's too many standards, so we need to create a new standard?
We're creating a new standard?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what we're beta testing right now. And the idea is to sort of funnel it all into Discord, perhaps using bridges to help people. Like, so if you're if you prefer to use IRC, but you still want to be in the conversation, we could use. We're looking at different systems, bridges, bots, front ends, all these different ways to make it happen, and essentially create a mega chat. We could even integrate with Telegram, so we could have a jblive.tv Telegram group that could be Matrix. And Matrix, yeah. So you could have if you're like a lot of people just like to hang out on Telegram. We could just have a dedicated group. We wouldn't use the existing one, but we'd have a dedicated group that would just be, if you're in here, you're part of the live chat. So you could participate from different locations. So we're looking at ways to consolidate and make a mega chat. And as part of that, I'm testing Discord right now. We've launched it to our patrons. They've been beta testing or alpha testing it for us really for a week? It's been about a week and a day or so. We've gotten a lot of people in there. And so now we're opening it up to the wider community to help test a specific feature. I mean, you can test all of it, but the feature that I'd like to test is consolidation of feedback. And I've launched a dedicated channel called Hair Care. And when you join Hair Care, it is a place for you to have a direct line of communication with me directly. This is a room where you can share a show idea, you can air a complaint or a concern, you can just give general feedback, you can say thanks, whatever you want. I just like it to be tight, specific, and on topic. And if you say like, hey, review more applications, that's what Eric did. Great piece of feedback there. I was like, okay, my first thought was, well, which applications? So, be specific. But this is a spot where, at least for a while, I'll be watching this very closely. And if there's something you want to get in front of my face, this is the spot I'm going to try to suggest everybody go to as a way to help beta test this as a platform to see if it works for our community. If you're curious about some of our motivations, about why we're trying this, if you want to hear both sides of that debate, check out recent episodes of User Error where we've been discussing the philosophical side of this and the community impact side of this.
So I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Hair care, is that specific to Chris Glass feedback?
It's like, well, what I was thinking was like, say you wanted to write a letter to the CEO. Okay. And it's like something, I mean, I don't know. I guess anybody in the staff could probably respond.
Well, I was just wondering if I need to create a beard channel to get beard feedback.
Oh, that's not bad. You could, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking it'd be like, it's not, you could give me specific feedback about some of the obnoxious, stupid things and tics that I have. That's fine too.
So much burping.
Yeah, but what I was really like is like, I wanted to let the CEO of the company know, here's a problem, or here's an idea, or here's something I love, or here's something they need to do more of. And you can drop it in there. And at least while we're testing this, and of course, while there's not as very many people in there, you're definitely going to have my attention. I don't plan to be in there all the time. I'm going to check it in batches.
Yeah, we do also have a content corner channel where you can share stuff like stuff that you want to see on shows.
Yeah, so I was thinking the difference there, the content corner might be more like, here's an idea I have, and let's bang this out. So like, I'd like to see more application reviews was Eric's idea. Mm-hmm. So if you go in so if Eric were to go in the content channel with that, he could say, I'd like to see more application reviews. What kind of applications do you think JB should talk about? Like, what are applications that need covered? And then that would really kind of be useful for us to see like that too, that conversation, that discussion, and see where people. And then when somebody has a really poignant on the nose idea, they can drop into Hair Care and get it in front of my face.
Also, something I haven't decided on. Should we have like separate channels for each show in the Discord?
I don't know. I feel like some shows, like Unfiltered, probably should.
Yeah, I feel like we should ask the community.
Yeah, so that could be something we talk about in general. So how do they get there? That's probably a good question. That's probably something we should have said by now.
That would be discord.me/Jupiter Colony.
Nice.
Yeah, we're calling it the Jupiter Colony, so you can join our colony. If you're a patron, too, go through Patreon and turn on your Discord perk. You'll get special status in the Discord system. And I don't know if it's on automatically. I like people have to go claim that perk, in the Patreon area.
The Patreon bot does it automatically.
Oh, it does. Okay.
You do have to connect your Discord on the Patreon side, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You manually connect it to, and then the bot gives you roles automatically.
I did notice one thing. People that are donating but aren't on a specific tier won't get connected, so you have to be on one of the tiers.
That's interesting. So like if you're doing if you're doing like $2.25,
yeah,
that's not a tier level, so it doesn't work with the API.
Yeah, but if you bump it up to like $3 tier, then you will get it connected.
Yeah, we also while we're talking about that, the Jupiter Signal Patreon, which plug is a great way to support the network. We also, Beard and I released a podcast exclusive to our patrons that talks about some of this too. This is something we've been really thinking about a lot because there's obvious disadvantages to Discord. And the biggest one is the fact that it is not open source and it is not self-hosted. And so that's the one where we've had the most reflection and conversation around. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to repeat it all here. So that's in the other shows if you care. But do know that it's something we were giving a tremendous amount of thought to the detriment of other things that we maybe should be thinking about. To the detriment, I should say.
Much like Firefox.
Yeah. But it's all in the beta stage. We're not making any changes. We're not replacing anything right now. It's all in the beta stages. And this is cool, though. They use Linux for the hosting. They make a Linux client available. They use Opus for the codec, WebRTC, and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty nice. And it works at different scales. It works for large communities or just for my kids to have like a little spot for them to chat on their own server. So yeah. There you have it. So you can go to, what was that URL again there, Beard? What was it? It was discord.me.
Discord.me/Jupiter Colony.
Magic. Discord.me/Jupiter Colony. And we will have a link in the show notes too. What do you think, Wes? Because, I know you like your tools to be open source.
I do.
I know that's especially like the platform level. I know that's important to you. But I also know that as a practical man who's in the day-to-day like workforce, you're also in Slack quite a bit. So this is something you've probably dealt with at that level. Like, do I use, using Slack and using it with different systems versus IRC? What do you think about this stuff? Do you consider these tools to be precious and that these Discord and instead of Slack, if possible, you should be using Mattermost. Instead of Discord, maybe be using Matrix. Like, how much weight do you give to that debate?
I'm glad it's considered. I mean, it is important. I would prefer to use, as much open source platforms as possible, but so many of these things you end up, it's just as like, how many users do you have? Do you have the people that you want to talk to on the platform that is available? And I also understand your perspective in that, like, between Slack and Telegram and all the other things, it can be, there's a lot. It's hard to keep track of and it's hard to use well. Well,
and we've had a fragmentation of the community between Reddit, IRC, Telegram, and people who just are maybe occasionally write in on email. It's really spread out, so it's attractive to consider something that has the capability to bridge all these different networks and mumble too, and bridge it all together into one space. That's pretty attractive. Mm-hmm. And then it has the feature set to spin up voice chats, so that could be very useful as well.
Right, and that's it's quite featureful. And I think one thing that like Slack, at least, for my day job and other things that had advantage over the other clients that we'd already been using for chat was just like, first-class platform support, first-class mobile support. QuassleDroid on the phone is not bad, but it's not really the same. It hasn't been designed with that sort of use case or interactivity. Mm-hmm. So this also, I think, would make it easier. Plus, I've never really liked Telegram groups all that much. I don't find them very usable. I don't use Telegram for anything else like that. So I have to mute them all the time, and then I can't really tell if I've missed things or not. I don't know. So Discord, it feels like a better
place to have that.
Yeah. Plus, with Telegram and other things, like there's already issues with it being hosted and all those things.
And really, our IRC chat room is hosted on a different service.
Yeah. So
it's on somebody else's system. It's on GeekShed.
I do think it is imperative that we continue to build things like Rocket Chat, Mattermost, Matrix. We continue to build bridges so that we can you can communicate on the platform of your choice. Maybe some of your communications goes to a platform you don't like, but you can at least control that and limit it to where you need to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To me, these platforms are not so important that it needs to be something that aligns with my self-identity. These are things. If Spotify were to go away tomorrow, I'd be fine. Honestly, if Netflix were to go away tomorrow, I'd be fine. Amazon Prime streaming goes away tomorrow, I'd be fine. Steam shuts down, I'd be a little butthurt, but if they gave me a way to keep my games offline, I'd be fine. The systems that I choose to participate in that are hosted are systems that, to me, don't matter in 10 years. I could give zero shits about Spotify in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't care. I don't care if they make money. I don't care if they make it. I just don't care. Because to me, there's always something else to switch to. And there's always another platform that comes around. There's always another way to do that job. And so for maybe a couple of years, it's one system. And then for another couple of years, it's another system. And you know what?
Seems to be how it goes.
A couple of years after that, it'll be a different system. And it's just the way it works. And to me, none of it really matters that much.
You don't view it as like, building blocks. It's not the foundation of your life. It's just something that you kind of connect into and know that it will be short term.
It's a thing that is providing me value for probably a year or two. And at some point, it's likely going to stop providing me value, or the value proposition will be such that it provides more pain than it does value. And at that point, I will switch to something else. That's just how I see it.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same camp. I do sympathize with people who use IRC all the time and have been using it for the past 15 years and don't have that same experience of hopping between clients all the time. But I'm definitely in your camp.
Mm.
I think Discord is fantastic. The only problem it has is the proprietary hosting part.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of features that's great. Like especially the webhook system is fantastic.
Can you explain that to me? I don't really understand what webhooks does. I saw it in the settings.
It's kind of like its own bot built into the system. So like if you can make it where when you post something on Twitter, it'll use a webhook to send it into the chat room.
Oh yeah, I also saw like you can use it with GitHub. So like if a project doesn't update,
it essentially lets third-party services push notifications to your Discord.
Right, but you can also build your own webhook using like you could even use like if this and that, send using anything from there into Discord.
That's interesting.
But it's basically to push information to you.
This conversation's like it would be. This feels like this conversation would be totally reframed if Jupiter Broadcasting ran their own IRC server. You know.
Yeah.
But this problem. For me as a Linux user, I don't know where to draw the line. Here's where my confusion comes in. If this is a line I were to hold, say I were to just reject Discord out of hand for Jupiter Broadcasting simply because it is not open source, the hosted part of it. Then where do I draw that line? Do I say, well, we can no longer use Android devices either because they're Linux, but they have a proprietary layer on top of them? Do I say the same thing about routers? What about our edge routers? Like, where do I draw? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, where do I draw that line?
I think the difference is when you're talking about using Discord, you're asking other people to cross the line. Whereas when you're saying what you're using inside your studio, nobody gives a toss what you're using in your studio.
Sure, okay.
But when you're asking me to sign up for a service, that's when it changes.
Well, first of all, that's not true because plenty of people care about what we use in our studio. Probably too much. But aside from that, then we should also not be on Telegram. We shouldn't be on Twitter. We shouldn't be on Reddit because we're not hosting that ourselves. We shouldn't be on any of these services.
I agree. Yes.
So
if you're going to draw the line, draw the line.
So I know Popey. Yeah, I know you are in there. So you use it. I think you probably have Slack that you're in as well. I know you probably use things like Hangouts. Yep. This is always a debate us Linux users are having. When do you choose a proprietary solution over the free one? What about you?
Personally, I'm a pragmatic person, so I have an NVIDIA binary driver installed. I have Steam. I have 300 Steam games installed on my laptop, but I'm not inconveniencing anyone else by doing that. I'm not causing someone else to have to install non-free software in order to interact with me. If you want to talk with me on a free software platform, you can do that.
Right. So So are you saying so the key then is to leave a way for people to communicate that is an open and free platform still. So like you could be on Slack, you can be on Discord, but there's got to still be a way if you don't want to participate in any of that stuff.
Exactly. That would be a reasonable thing to
I think that's pretty easy to do with an IRC bridge. Where it could be really tricky is there's no bridge for Mumble. So I don't know if we'd ever replace Mumble, but you could see the super handiness where you can integrate all of it in one place. And especially when you consider the fact that there's Patreon integration, so we could say maybe these members of the Unfiltered Patreon can be involved in a listener edition of the show, and it's just a matter of check a box, and now they have those permissions. If they delete their Patreon account, their permissions are removed. We don't have to manage 2 systems here at JB, which we would suck at. That to me seems like, oh, well, shit, that almost would make it worth not using Mumble, but then there wouldn't be a free and open way unless somebody were to develop
So
a
we
bridge.
need a Mumble Discord bridge.
But then the flip side is one of the biggest hurdles for this here podcast that you're listening to right now is, hey, by the way, can you tell this is a summer edition? We're talking about ourselves. This here podcast is when we bring guests on, they really have often never used Mumble before. And so most of the time, I ping producer Michael and I say, hey, Rotten, I know you're probably busy, but can you reach out to XYZ and can you help this guy get Mumble configured? And he always says yes, and he's created documentation for it too. So, but you can imagine, like, Rotten, if we didn't have to do that anymore, if it was just go to this website, log in, and it just works.
I mean, it's still you still kind of have to explain Discord if they've never used it, but it's simpler to set up in the sense you don't have to worry about ports or anything.
Especially
like
the audio settings, like configuring which audio interface to use, and the troubleshooting your connection is really simple.
It depends where you are on the Stallman line, and there are certainly podcasters who won't put out their podcast even now as an MP3, but only as OGG, and they use free software platforms, and they have self-hosted WordPress, and things like that. They only use Mumble, and they would expect you to jump through the hoops in order to be a guest on their show. Now, you're a bit further down the line in that you're going to allow people to join the show, but they'd have to use some non-free thing, and you also use non-free for distribution of your show, which they wouldn't use. And I guess it's just what you're personally comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so is it Rob Brother Arm? Is that what Ro Brother Arm? Is it Ro Brother Arm? Is that how I'm supposed to say it?
Rob the Ram.
Rob the Ram. How about, let's just go with Rob. Rob, you said you're in another community that's having this exact conversation right now. Are we being basic?
Yeah, almost identical. Not podcast related, but Minecraft server related. But yeah, we used to have an IRC server that bridged into the game server, and we all were IRC people. And we recently moved to Mumble, Discord, because everyone else was on Discord. But we still have a Mumble room.
Right.
And yeah, the conversation of, well, we've got people who already know how Mumble works, can easily diagnose or discuss with the person how to get them into Mumble. And we've got all the documentation, and it's the question of, do we really want to just move all the way to
right? It's a bit the network effect, though, isn't it? Because it's got a network effect.
There's also a lot of stuff built into Discord by default that in some cases requires the beta version of Mumble to use.
One of the things,
for example, controlling volume of individual users is built into Discord.
Exactly.
Whereas if you want to do that in Mumble, it requires you to have the beta version.
Not only is it built into Discord, but the UI to use it is simple enough that I could do it on the fly while I'm saying these very, very words right now, and I can adjust people without having to go, okay. So that also wins too. The UI, not only is it great for guests, but it wins on tweaking volume. And just one other UI thing that's kind of nice is if you think about it as somebody who's never been in the Jupiter Broadcasting community ever, and they're landing here for the very first time. When you open up Discord, one of the things that I think is sort of nice and helpful is the hosts are broken out and color-coded. Patrons are broken out and color-coded, bots are broken out and color-coded, and people with ultimate admin power are broken out and color-coded. So you immediately know who's who. Like, there's not like ambiguity, like, who is DVL? Who's DVL? Well, now you know. Oh, that's Dan from TechSnap. That's Dan. Oh, shit, that's Dan from TechSnap. Like, it's more friendly in terms of just the layout and the way it looks and the way people are broken out into groups. It makes it understandable for somebody who's coming to this community for the first time ever. And which could be a more and more thing on Discord because of that network effect.
Proprietary software being prettier than free software. Who knew?
Yeah. This is why I'm talking about it, because exactly that, Popey. Like, this is a frickin' classic problem that we have now. It is the problem of our time with hosted services, and all of these sons of bitches are running on Linux. They're all using Linux on the back end. It's really interesting because it's using Linux to create services that eventually get a big enough user base that they get profitable. But they start with like this crazy venture funding structure. They have Nitro, which you can get for Discord if you want to give them $5 a month, basically, or $4 a month.
They also announced they're going to add premium plugins in the future, but everything currently, they've stated everything currently that is free will stay free.
There's definitely some features in there that are nice for us. Like there's integration with things like OBS that are nice for us, and there's moderating features that are nice for us. Like one of the things that I've always kind of wanted is I'd like to be able to review a log, because a lot of times somebody comes to me and they say, hey, so-and-so kicked me for no good reason. And so this has a really good audit log, so I can see what's been going on just on that end of the community, which is something I don't generally get oversight over. And so that's pleasant, but there's other things in there too about the way the notification structure works. It has a mode for when we're on the live stream like we are right now, where we can just immediately turn off all notifications, which is really nice. Oh, and then the last thing, and then we'll get off this. And this is, again, going back, this is a classic open source solution versus hosted solution. Dynamite mobile app, works great on tablets, because I loaded it on all my kids' tablets because they have a little private server with them and Noah's kids. And just Dynamite app, just really good app, works well, respects my D&D preferences, all that kind of stuff. And that's always a problem. Like Rocket Chat, there's several Rocket Chat clients. There's several Mattermost clients. None of them are quite as good as Slack's client. And the same with Discord. Like there's several Mumble clients for mobile, not really on iOS, but there's some. There's like one, I think. And boy, is it ass! It really is ass. And of course, Discord's great. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we've heard from the community, and I think this is something. Just like when open source projects move to GitHub and GitLab, they get more contributors. When we moved to Telegram, we got more members of the community, because one of the things I've heard is I'm on my phone. And when I have time to respond and interact, I'm on my phone. I'm not at a computer. And so that's why Telegram works so good for me. And so we've heard from people on Telegram that we don't normally hear from, because that's their tool they use when they have downtime. Is they fire up Telegram and they chat with folks to kill a few minutes. And now they're able to participate in Telegram. They were never participating before in IRC or in the comments or anywhere else.
I suppose the main issue is how often do we have people on Mumble that are free software only?
Well, there's a good portion, I think.
I know there's a few for sure, but I don't know. Like,
I think Mumble's a great tool too, though. That's the other thing. It's like Mumble's pretty stable and reliable once you have it set up and you have a certificate and you have all that. So it's harder to justify replacing Mumble.
Yeah,
I feel like
it does have the best audio quality out of all of them too.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good.
And it's also a lot more efficient with detecting voice or not.
Although I'll give you where Discord wins is I do like that they're using Opus, but where they also in the UI department again is they give you a cellular signal like equivalent. You get 3 green bars or red bars. You hover it over it tells you what your ping is. You can click a little info button and you actually get like a chart of your average response time of how your connection's been doing. It tells you the ping rate to the different servers you're connected to. And it's something we've already used it in testing when we were troubleshooting with Noah. We're like, all right, what are these numbers? And we immediately know what to expect. And within 30 seconds, Beard moved us over to an East Coast server, because it's just you go up there, settings, move to East Coast, and resolve the issue.
Wow.
And it was really handy because it was just, here's the information. It was really easy for him to understand, even though it was the first time he'd ever even opened it, or second time he'd ever even opened up Discord. That kind of stuff Mumble doesn't do so well on. But once you get it set up,
by making a server, it says what region do you want to put your server in and stuff like that.
I could also see, like, for productions like this show, sticking with Mumble, and then for productions like a special one-off version of Coda Radio or Unfilter, using Discord for that, where it's like, hey, we're going to pull in a few people and we're recording a holiday episode and thought we'd have the audience join us. Where you don't normally have a structure and you don't normally have people showing up every Tuesday, that might be like the more impromptu voice shows. Maybe that might be Discord. Sorry, what were you going to say, Michael?
I was just saying, I think Mumble is a great software. It's just it's the luxuries that Discord provides is what makes Discord the current market share of most most communities that are voice based kind of stuff. Like even TeamSpeak is losing a lot of its market share to Discord.
Yeah, it's growing. It's growing crazy because it's a lot of things that people have been building different systems to do in one.
I just thought of one thing that Mumble does that Discord doesn't, that is critical to the show. I don't think Discord can do sub-voice channels like Mumble does, where we have like the on-air channel. And then we have,
yeah.
But the
No, I
restricted
can't do that.
casting,
Yeah.
like the mic check.
yeah.
But it
doesn't do
does
sub-levels.
do UI. I guess we could have different rooms. But it does do UI feedback, like if you don't have any mic level coming in and stuff like that. So it does walk the user through resolving
The only
issue.
limitation that, based on that point, the only limitation of not being able to sub, the ACLs in Mumble allow you to be inside the join queue and still listen to the show while you're waiting. Whereas in Discord, you wouldn't be able to hear anything.
Yeah. See, I think maybe we would keep Mumble for Unplugged.
Yep.
And then Discord would be like, all right, well, in 15 minutes, we're gonna have a show where we want the audience, and we get like 10, 15 people all of a sudden. That might be, yeah. Because really, it's just solid software once you get it set up, and we've got the Mumble server running on DigitalOcean, so the ping time's ridiculously low for the studio. It's like we have like a 36 ping. It's just wonderful.
We also should probably create an announcements channel so we can do like at everyone, and just they'll get a push notification on their phone when we're like live or something.
Oh.
So like, do people leave the notifications turned on? Is that something people do?
I do.
Actually, there's a suggestion by the Discord team. If you're a big server, you should not even do that. You should server-wide turn off notifications, except for at mentions. Because there's times where people will jump in, and the more people you get, the more annoying it is to people who've never used Discord before. So you're kind of like preemptively doing that for them.
Well, the idea would be to have a channel that only we could post in.
Yeah. Only mods and whatever has the role to do it.
And then
at everyone is a mention to anyone.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the other way it's set up currently, you can at mention groups. So like well, this is something we're just going to play with. And right now we've got just a handful of people in there because we've just been experimenting. We like I said earlier, we launched it with our patrons first, and then sort of scaled it out. Oh man, we got to go. Jeez. Oh, okay. So we got to talk about the Slackware challenge.
Yeah.
And then we'll scoot. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there to support the show and sign up for a free 7-day trial. It's a platform built by Linux lovers for Linux users and lovers like us. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Support the show and 7-day free trial. Go there. Try it out and sign up. And check out their self-paced in-depth video courses on every dang Linux, cloud, and DevOps topic. And I really love the hands-on labs because this is where you get scenario-based stuff over an SSH connection, and you really know what you're working with. So when you go do it in production, you feel like you've already done it before. And if you ever get stuck along your path to excellent learning, they have instructor mentoring standing by, full-time human instructors who also love Linux, and they're there to answer your questions. That's such a deep benefit to Linux Academy and something pretty much no other platform has. That's huge. Also, you know what else? Just thinking about what no other platform has? The community. Such a vibrant, active community full of Jupiter Broadcasting members. And that's nice because there's certain functionality inside Linux Academy, some of the courseware that can be iterated upon by the community. And so when you have a good, vibrant community like that, it means that the content's getting better constantly. And they turn that investment around into their infrastructure, into their courseware, and into their instructors. It really shows. And as a Linux Academy subscriber now for years, I still find value out of it. Even when I'm just sort of toying around with the concept, it's nice to be able to go in and get a real grasp from the basics all the way up to what the high-end stuff is. And if you're looking for certs, I definitely recommend you check it out. Go to linuxacademy.com/unplugged, and a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Unplugged program. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Slackware challenge, Wes. I think here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you what I'm thinking. Are you ready for what I'm thinking? Here's what I'm thinking. By the way,
what are you
thinking?
thinking?
What I'm thinking. I'm going to put it on one machine after this episode. I've already got the ISO downloaded.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Yeah, well, I had an inside scoop. I kind of knew it was coming, and I can't commit to switching to it immediately because I have Unfiltered tomorrow, which requires my whole rig. But I will put it on my XPS 13, which I've recently been trying different distros on, and I'll run it starting Thursday full time, I believe. I'll be able to run it full time, so I'll work on it tonight and tomorrow to kind of get it loaded up. So by Thursday, I'll be running it full time, and I'll try to report back and share my experiences, what it was like to install some basic tools. We'll see. We'll see how far I get. Maybe I'll get all set and be like, I'm not using this full time. I may bail. I may bail in the pursuit. In the pursuit of other tasks, I may have to bail.
Is there anything you're really excited about, though?
Well, as soon as I saw the website, it got me a little nostalgic. So there was that sort of took me back a bit, and then I almost went and just decided to put this off a week and order the 6 CD set.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, and get like a actual like package. But then I realized that none of my systems have a CD-ROM right
You'll have
now.
to send them off to a kind viewer who will convert those to USB
or
for
I'd have
you.
to go grab like the extra like USB one that we have floating around here somewhere. So I just downloaded the torrent. But I was kind of excited. So that felt old school. And one of the things that's really kind of fun is it and also makes me feel nostalgic is you can download the individual discs. So like you used to have to do, you can download disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, disc 4, disc 5, and disc 6. If you want the source code, you don't need disc 6 if you don't want it. And so, during the install, it would be ejecting the disc and asking for the next disc. I miss that so much. I would never actually want to do it anymore, but I'd like the one chance to do it again. Legit, would
that
be
sounds
fun.
fun.
So I was tempted, but then realized that I don't even have the capability. So instead, I grabbed the quote-unquote DVD ISO, which I will never be burning to a DVD. But it's cute that they call it that, which includes everything except, of course, the source code.
Yeah.
And I'll be putting that on my XPS 13. Now, this is the... I did not intend to. I guess I could change it, but I did accidentally grab the 32-bit version. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just go with that. I'll just be old school and I'll embrace it. But
you could get spin up do an install on a virtual machine and then have your like CD switching out fun, virtual fun.
Yeah. So if you want to join me in this journey, I say what I was thinking is if I can't run it as my full-time desktop, what I'm going to at least try to do is set it up for one specific task. Do that job or do that task.
Have you decided what desktop you're going to run?
No. I mean, I was probably going to go KDE, but I really hadn't given it a time.
Okay.
I mean,
we'll find out.
What are you going to do?
Well, I hadn't thought about it either.
I really don't like old
be...
Gnome. I really don't like old Gnome. Although you go too old on KDE Plasma, and I'm not... God, I don't know.
Wait, did you say Plasma is the best? Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Even old Plasma?
Whoa, wait. Are you saying that Slackware only has KDE4?
I don't actually remember.
If it only has KDE4, then Monte sounds good.
Where do I go here? Oh, yeah, Monte would work. Yeah, you're right. I was actually... Joe would probably love to hear this. I was actually thinking XFCE, but then the issue is, and here's why this could already be bad, is that damn XPS 13 is high DPI.
Oh.
So what is Slackware going to do when I put it on a high DPI machine? What is Slackware going to do? I mean, I've got to go with a more modern... I've got to. So I hope that it's using a current version of Plasma. Anyways, I wish I could say more. I wish we had more time, but we really should get going to make room for the TechSnap guys. Join us live next week, won't you? It's a lot of fun. You go over to jblive.tv, and if you do it on a Tuesday, you'll be here for the show. You just got to get the time right and go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar for that. Now, here's the great part. You tune in for the Unplugged show. You stick around. Guess what? Guess what comes next?
Free extra show.
TechSnap.
That's the one.
Bonus show with Wes and Dan. So we invite you to also check out the Discord community and get involved in the hair care channel. That's what I'm testing out to see if that works as a consolidated feedback mechanism. And you can find a link to that, or it was discord.me/JupiterGani. There you go. Check out more of Popey over there on the Ubuntu podcast. New episode coming out soon. Check out Wes on TechSnap, and he's at Wes Payne, right?
That's right.
Check out Rika. Rika, where do you want them to check you out, Mr. Beard?
Rec.net, rekd.net.
Boom!
I'm checking him out all
I like
over.
it.
Or twitter.com/SkyLP.
You bastard. You bastard. Thank you very much, too, to our virtual lug for being here. We'll hope you'll join us next week, and have a great week. See you then! Hot tip from Popey for those of you who missed out outside the US on the XPS 13 giveaway. Those cats over at the Ubuntu podcast, I believe, are giving away an Enterware Apollo soon. Are these rumors true, Popey?
These rumors are true.
Whoa!
Yes, episode goes out on Thursday, and it'll have all the details of how you can enter the contest. Contest runs for about a month, so should be easy for everyone to find a bit of time to enter.
Oh, snap. Very nice. jbtitles.com. Let's go pick our title, everybody. jbtitles.com. Anything jumping out at you?
What about the Americans that wanted Entroware, though?
I don't think they sell
You're
here.
screwed.
Yeah, they don't sell here.
No.
Fight for the right to IRC. Oh, geez, that's funny. Discord
I like
not
that.
ethical. The only problem is that will create a movement to save IRC.
Oh, yeah.
Reality is a service. Dragging the line. The Stallman line. That's not bad. The Stallman line's not bad. Have we used that before? Anybody want to double check on that?
So.
Maximum electrolysis was mine, but now in retrospect, not as good as the Stallman line. Chris switches to PSD. Keep trying, Architect.
Dude, you could put a picture of Stallman's face over that one scene in First Contact with Picard.
Oh.
So it turns out Alien Pastures from Slackbook says that Plasma 5 does work on Slackware.
Cool.
I'll find out.
There we go.
I will find out. So Fight for the Right to IRC is up there. Cut the Discord. Discord not ethical. And the Stallman line. Really? The Stallman line's not getting more love? Like we talked, because it's not just about Discord. It's about like, this is a common problem now in open. This is, it used to be like Linux or Windows. It's not that shit anymore. It's this now. This is what it is.
We're using our proprietary... We use Linux phones with proprietary apps to connect to proprietary services running on Linux.
And we didn't even get into the fact that it touches on the electron debate too. You didn't even get to that
That's a
part.
fun little nugget for next week.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fan of the title Reality as a Service.
Reality as a service is good too. I'll give it a vote.
The also the IRC thing is there's really no reason for people to like save IRC. IRC wouldn't die because the only issue would be Mumble as a situation, because IRC has a bridge, so you could continue to use IRC and be indirectly connected to them in Discord channel.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm told that
Stallman line's moving up now that I gave it some love.
Nice.
Last minute promotion.
I'm told that bridges are tacky and are only used by Minecraft servers and should never be used for IRC.
Tacky, huh? Wow.
They are wrong.
Wow.
So I did see someone had written a very minimal JavaScript app to forward messages between Discord and Mumble. They said there's no reason it shouldn't be able to work, so if anyone wants a project,
Seems like
there's
the
a
voice-
skeleton.
I've actually seen. I know of a bot I'm working on with the Intergos channel team. We're doing. We have Telegram, Matrix, and IRC all connected, and are working on adding Discord into it too.
Nice.
You should look at working with the what was it, the Matter something project?
Mattermost?
No, hang on. I gotta look it up now.
Oh, weird.
Ping, we
the
announced...
Matrix bridge is the most impressive bridge I've seen for IRC, because it makes IRC users like react exactly like a Matrix user in the Matrix chat, and also vice versa. So like you have full power of both sides from either side.
Hey, Rikai, you remember what episode we announced the winner of the XPS 13?
Yeah, his name was Michael Tennell.
I think it was the one previous to the last one.
Number 18?
Yeah. Rikai tricked you because he didn't put it in the time. So a lot of people have been like, I listened to that episode and I haven't heard it. And it's like, you didn't. You just looked at the time code. That's what you did. All right, we gotta run because the TechSnap guys got to start. But I think let's go check. Our winner is the Stallman line, which I think is a good, solid title. So that's actually Wes's.
Hey-yo.
Congrats,
So
Wes.
a wonderful line by Mr. Popey.
Hey, thank you everybody in the Mama Room for being here, guys. You guys crushed it today. Like, what's the term? You smashed it. What is it? Like, you smashed
Right out of the ballpark.
You guys smashed
that like
You
button.
guys smashed that mumble button today. Thank you, really. Smashed that to push to talk. Oh, I did it.
Real quick, the name of the software is MatterBridge. It bridges IRC, Gitter, XMPP, Slack, Discord, Telegram, Rocket Chat, HipChat, Steam, and Matrix with the REST API.
Yikes.